I do want to start on time since so many people need to leave.
And Dwayne, did you get in? I think your have you as call-in user there.
Who?
Dwayne. Dwayne has to get on by the phone, and I think that's him. But that's sometimes challenging to get off mute. I think it's *6 should get you off mute.
There's also another resident who always attends via phone, Charlene.
Present.
Okay, so that's
okay. It's not Dwayne. Okay, I think I have everything I need to have open.
Okay,
but if not, we will adapt.
Allison, you've changed your last name.
Oh, does it say Lorraine?
No, it says Hattenden.
Oh, that's strange. Okay.
I did that
on my phone.
Okay, that's Dwayne.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Welcome, it worked.
Well, you know what? I'm going to start because, as I said, a number of people have to leave either at 6 or 6:30, and Allison is here. Bob, could you show the agenda, please? I'm also wondering if when I sent out the new minutes and I forgot to send out the agenda, people don't realize that the old agenda it had the Zoom meeting link. So with that said, I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 14th Planning Forum meeting. And I want to first apologize for not including the agenda to the notice that I sent out with the meeting minutes from August, September, and October. It's currently on the screen. Several of our presenters have other meetings to attend before 6:30 p.m., so there will be a bit of a shift in the agenda. Allison will present the PED report and will be followed by Jonathan Kamin on behalf of Walnut Capital. He will be followed by Thomas Scharff, who will provide an update on the Ormsby and Armstrong Parks Master Plan. We can then go back to Bruce's updates and those from Southside Community Council, Slopes, and our state and federal representatives, and the organizational reports. The forum brings together the Southside community each month in order to hear what each organization and sector is doing. I've spent a lot of time working on the minutes from the last 2 months and noticed a lot of discussion that might need to be discussed away from the meeting and reported back at a later time. So let's try to be concise when sharing information or asking questions. So our first agenda item is approval of the minutes. And if there are no questions about the minutes, I'm asking for a motion to approve the all three set of minutes, the August 8th, September 12th, and October 10th. So I'm asking for a motion.
Hi, Barbara, it's Jacky. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for all three of those dates.
Okay, thank you. A second?
Hi, Barbara, it's Lynn, second.
Thank you. All in favor? And or if anyone's opposed. Okay, we can then go to Allison's report.
Okay, hello, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me okay? First of all, I'm on my phone. All right. Bob's sharing the PED report right now. The total, again, the parking enhancement district is a means to collect parking revenue from 6 p.m. until 3 a.m. Thursday through Sunday. And this money is used to go back into the commercial district and where it is collected. October PED revenue total collected was $37,832.43. There is a bit of a question about enforcement costs that maybe Matt later on can clarify for the group. Expenditures were for September clean team, $16,082.74. The total gross revenue to date for 2023 is $289,927.70. The total since the inception of the PED is $326,307.24. The trust fund balance remaining is $142,931.81. That does not include the money collected for 2023. So that what is totally collected in 2023 will be added to that trust fund balance in February of next year. I'll move on to liquor license changes because I understand you don't want to take questions right now. Is that right, Barb?
We can take questions. Yeah, because you're leaving, so we can take questions for each section of your report.
Okay. Are there any questions about the parking enhancement district? If not, I will move on to liquor license changes. These are changes that are sent to us by the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. So they don't reflect any, postings that you may see in the neighborhood. These are just ones that come through to us in a printed form. So we have two. The first one is for Carson City Saloon, an application to transfer the license. And that is for Capos LLC. The second transfer is for Links on Carson, 1713 East Carson, with MJKKS LLC involved in that transfer. I really don't have any other information other than what is printed there. There's a little bit of information as to, the what they call the license identification number and that sort of thing, but that we get very little information. But if anybody has questions about that, I could try to answer.
I know that Southside Community Council had a meeting with the I guess, new owners of Carson City Saloon. Jacky, I didn't know if you had anything to share.
We did meet with at the time, potential new owner. I don't have my notes in front of me, but just off the top of my head, the sale of both the building and the transfer of the license was contingent on the approval of the license. The transfer of the license and no one contesting the license. So that's most likely going to happen. The current owners will back away. The new owner if that sale does go through, has a pizza shop in Carnegie. He does sell liquor at that establishment, to-go beer and adult slushies. So we went through a number of questions. He was very nice, joined us on the call, answered all of our questions. And then I passed along contacts for both the Southside Hospitality Partnership as well as Allison and her team to that new owner, to help them through any transition with opening here on the south side. But that business is going to remain the same in terms of the name and the operation model it currently has.
Thank you.
Mhm.
If there are no other questions, Allison, you can go to, I think, clean team information.
Yeah, so this information is provided by Block by Block, who's a subcontractor with the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership, and we have a contract with them to provide clean services on the south side. They have completely changed over the clean team that is working there, so it's a whole new crew, and they feel like so far that they're seeing a better result and standards. So we hope that everyone's happy with that. There has been a reduction in the amount of trash that's showing up on south side, but that's mainly due to colder weather. And but they still collected 11,363 pounds of trash. So this is they do include, that is included in the trash bins that are on the street. They changed them out, so they do include that. There was quite a reduction in the number of alcohol containers that they collected, just one bag, 25 pounds of alcohol containers. So that is going down as well with the cold weather, but I think also with a lot of the efforts of the entertainment patrol that's dedicated to that area now. So they also did some 6 blocks of weed abatement, and they also remove stickers and things like that. So that is the conclusion of that report. And if there are any questions on that, I'll take those too.
Allison, this is Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone today. We did get the information from the Park Authority, the aggregate information that we discussed at hearing, one of the meetings, not the last one, the one before. And I guess we're still looking at it, trying to decipher and aggregate it. So haven't forgotten about it. It hasn't been, I guess we haven't dug into it enough to give any feedback yet, but hopefully next month or the month after. So just want to keep that on the radar.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'll be helpful to the discussion that we have been having over the last couple of months, if not longer, on enforcement. And it may be good to wait for that information before that discussion continues. Allison's report does show that there was no cost related to enforcement. So I'm making an assumption that the enforcement officers did not have police escorts, and that because the enforcement officers are dedicated to Southside, as Matt had shared at one of the meetings, that they then were providing, they were going into the community to monitor the RPP program.
Yeah, Barbara, and I don't know if Matt's on the call, but there, to my knowledge, I'm just not sure if there has been some enforcement cost. There was a separate email that has gone through, not with the report. So we just need to work out a little bit of clarification on that, just so I'm sure that there's no enforcement cost.
Mm-hmm.
I put a question mark in summary. So the situation that is a little bit difficult, and I think we had clarification that if they are going into the RPP area, that they are not billing for enforcement to the parking enhancement district, because the parking enhancement district is dedicated to a certain area and funds are supposed to remain within that certain area, and RPP is outside of that area. So we just need to make sure that that is being billed correctly.
Yep. Yeah. And Matt, in the minutes, Matt clarified that.
Yeah.
That was the case. Okay. Any other questions for Allison? If not, we can then move on to Jonathan Kamin, who will be speaking on behalf of Walnut Capital.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me. I apologize that my camera's off. I don't seem to be able, I'm taking the call not from my office. I don't seem to be able to get it to work, so you'll have to suffer through without seeing my male pattern baldness. But thank you guys for allowing me to come tonight. So a couple things that I just wanted to say preliminarily. I can tell you that Walnut Capital has closed on its acquisition of Southside Hospital. And that includes a number of different parcels. And I did send out a slide that had a survey on it. So I don't know if we can share that slide.
Yeah. Bob has the slides that you shared.
Right. So Bob, let's do the first slide and then I'll come back to this one first.
This one here.
That's just the survey. So it may be a little bit hard to see, but I did want to just walk you through a little bit of the parcels that Walnut acquired so everybody knows. But this is great as a first piece, Bob. So this is the lot that is, if you just stay right on top there, Bob, that's fine. This is the parking lot on Josephine Street. Our intent for this lot at this point is to build for sale townhouses on it, but this is a project that we're still working on design with our team and working through city planning to try and figure out what exactly we can do there. So that's not the first project that's going to be coming forward, but that's probably something that I would say will be a more formal presentation in the spring as to what we're looking to do there. Bob, can you go to the next part of this page 2? So this also shows, great, if you can stop right there, Bob, that's awesome. This also shows the other parcels that were required. So the one on the bottom of your screen is the existing hospital. And then as you can see, the acquisition goes all the way up to South 19th Street to the building that is on the corner that's really used primarily, for storage. Then you can see that there is another building that is across South 19th that sort of fronts on Harcum Way that was acquired. That's a 1-story block building that UPMC used for storage. And then as we slide back over towards 20th, you'll see there's a parking lot that was acquired, and then the medical office building, the Roche Taylor building, was also part of the acquisition. So I just wanted to do this as a quick overview.
Another map here. Is this what you wanted to show?
Yeah, if you can show that, Bob, that's probably easier for everybody to see, but these are the parcels essentially that were acquired. I just wanted to do that as sort of a high level overview for everyone, so everyone knows what we're talking about. And the parking lot that's located on Josephine Street was the piece that I referred to before as, I think our first real development piece, but that's going to be coming up essentially in the spring. With respect to what are sort of the next steps, We have our submitted for a demolition permit for the existing building. We expect to have that permit, we hope, before the end of the year, though it could come into January. And certainly we're going to coordinate with everyone before work starts, so everyone can be aware of that. And we'll set up a call with PJ Dick, who is our contractor, who will be doing that once we get a little bit of a better idea of timing and exactly what conditions, if any, will be on the permit. So let me go to Bob. You can close this slide out, and then I can show everybody walk them through a little bit of the Roche Taylor building presentation.
This is what you're looking for here?
Perfect. Thank you. So one of the buildings that we acquired is, the medical office building. And our plan is to not really do any exterior renovations to that, but to go ahead and convert it from medical office into apartment. Bob, you want to go to the next slide? You can go to the next slide. So this just gives you a little bit of context. I know everybody here is generally familiar with it, but I did want to highlight two things. Number one, it does have sort of frontage on all four sides. And number two, we're not planning on changing any of the access to the building. We're going to use the existing curb cuts that are on South 20th Street. And there is a little bit of a turn in on Harcum Lane. That may be an area for drop off, but we're not planning on doing anything that would physically change the access. You can go to the next slide, Bob. This is just an overview again. You can go to the next slide. This is a shot of the building from the back. It's again, we're not really planning on changing the exterior to it, but this is a view I know everyone's familiar with. Next slide. Side view. You can go to the next slide, Bob. And this is a front view. We are planning on modernizing a little bit the entrance and dressing that up. The entrance will remain where it is, but we're going to do a little bit better than what you see there in terms of welcoming people. These are good shots of the curb cuts. Thank you, Bob. Next slide. Another shot. Next slide. This shot of the building from Jane Street. You can go to the next slide. So the building, as you are probably aware, is zone UI. And we're not planning on rezoning or changing. We think we'll get maybe 60 units into the existing building. It is a special exception under the City of Pittsburgh zoning code, which means we will be going to the zoning board for approval. The only criteria that really exists in the zoning code with this is whether or not residential is compatible on the first floor. Other than that, it is, by virtue of being a special exception, a permitted use in the UI. You can go to the next slide, Bob. Or is that? Yeah, that's it. So you can turn off at this point, Bob. Thank you. So what we wanted to do was just to give you an overview of a couple points. Number one, we've closed, and number two, our first two projects, like we said, are the building on the conversion of the medical office building and the Josephine lot. Our plan, just to keep everybody informed, is for us to come to these meetings, either every month or every other month, just so we're keeping you up to date on our progress. We're happy to answer questions, but our thought is might as well, go ahead and keep everybody up to date so nobody's surprised with anything that. As we talked about, we're not planning on seeking any variances for any of the buildings we're doing on the site. We're looking to do everything pretty much as of right. We're not seeking to rezone the property. We're not seeking to do any of those other items. But I think the first thing in the queue is the demolition permit, and we'll update you when we receive that. And then we'll just continue to update you as the projects develop. So happy to take any questions that you may have. I know I ran through it quickly, but just wanted to give you an overview of sort of where we are in week 2 here of owning the asset.
And thank you, Jonathan. Jacky, you have your hand raised.
Yep. Thanks, Jonathan, for giving us that update. I know in our last community meeting, and you mentioned it here before, the residents adjacent to the site would like to have that meeting with PJ Dick. We're very concerned about material management coming off the site, in particular, dump trucks full of waste, how the fencing is going to be queued, where any supplemental parking for residents can be provided during the demolition phase, since your early plans showed a reduction in our street parking here. And we are permit parking in a lot of this area. So those are all agenda items we'd like to cover. And if you want some more information on those, I can give you a full list prior to the schedule of that meeting.
Yeah, I think what would be helpful is a full list would be awesome. And then I think what we ought to do is we should have a separate meeting of just the most impacted residents surrounding that, a separate workshop with PJ Dick and the subcontractor, so we can work through those issues. I think they'll probably take, part of an afternoon, if not a full afternoon, to just talk through and work through. So I'm sure we can work with Bob's office and Bruce's office to get that schedule once we get a little bit of better insight on our timing.
Sure. And then my second question is, these two projects fall within separate registered community organizations within the South Side. The Roche Taylor building falls under the purview of the South Side Community Council, and the Josephine Street property falls under the purview of the South Side Neighborhood Slopes Association. You're going to require to have a development activities meeting for both of those sites with each one of those community groups, correct?
Well, so the answer is we definitely will require one for the Josephine Street project. I'm not sure that we're going to require that one is required for the Roche Taylor building because of the fact that it's basically all interior renovations. That being said, I think we're happy to have one.
Okay. We will then coordinate with our city planner for the Southside Community Council to verify that and make sure that a formal one may not be required, but we would love to have an informal one in order
We're
for the
totally good with that.
common feedback. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Thank
totally
you.
good with
That's
that.
all I had. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Barb.
Don Berman.
Hi, Jonathan. Thank you very much. I just have to, maybe I'm just not as familiar with the site as others, but I found myself being confused. So it sounded like there were like kind of three things going on. One was the Roche Taylor building, which was interior renovation. The other was on the Josephine Street, which was going to be for sale condos. And then you also mentioned, demolishing the current hospital, right? So I'm just not sure. I mean, there was a kind of a map showed up with a bunch of little purple things on it. There was a lot of, I assumed that there's a lot of property that you bought. Wasn't clear what was going to happen to all of it.
Right. So there are lots of pieces that we did acquire as part of the transaction, and the different pieces will have different uses for them. So as I said, the lot on Josephine right now we're thinking about is for sale townhouses. The medical office building, we're thinking about that being apartment rentals. And then our thought for what eventually will be built where the old Southside Hospital is probably a mixed use combination of first floor retail and potentially apartment rentals, though we have to see how it lays out. It could just be all apartments. So I think that is a much larger land planning project for us. We've started that work, but you're looking at probably, I'd say 6 to 8 months before we even know what that property wants to be when it grows up. So that project and the ones associated with it are much further out. I would say if we're looking about what's in the queue, us getting our demolition permit and probably starting work on the demolition is probably, the first item in the queue. The renovation of the medical office building is probably the second item in the queue. The Josephine Street project's probably the third item in the queue, and then the overall development of what was the main office building, our main hospital building is, probably a much longer process than those ones that I just described.
Okay, do you have any kind of timeline like in mind? I realize it's probably be rough, but to get through the hospital building phase of things.
Well, I mean, I would tell you that I have no idea and wouldn't want to suggest anything to you because right now it's just we don't even know what we're building, and it's just going to be too hard to figure that out. So the answer is no on that. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Harry?
Good evening. This is Harry O'Brien and his wife Ann. Excuse me. We live across the street from the cafeteria on Mary Street. My one comment to the gentleman is when you say there's 60 units in the Royce Taylor building,
Yes.
it's a little aggressive to me.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it lays out. It's 8 floors, and we'll see how it lays out. There's 62 parking spaces on site, by the way.
I'm very familiar with the site.
Yep.
But okay, that was my own comment. It just seems if the entire project goes like that, this could swamp this area, in my opinion. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
So Jonathan, a question I had, I think you've answered. The parking lot that is there sounds like it's going to remain.
That's correct, Barbara. The parking lot's going to remain, and the existing curb cuts to the parking lot are going to remain exactly where they are.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the other side of Harcum, there is what used to be the doctor's parking area and Hart Park. And are there any plans to keep that a parking lot and keep the park? Or are you not at that?
I don't think we're at that point yet to figure out how that all works together.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions?
The other 2 parcels.
Yes, Barb.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Dwayne Havanek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I live across the street from, yes, Mr. Kamin, I live across the street from the hospital as well. And I'm just thinking ahead here. Once it's demolished, are you guys thinking to open up Edwards Way all the way from 19th Street to 21st Street? That's a suggestion. That'd be a lot of convenience for more parking, more area for people to get in there if you're going to have apartments, and so that's a suggestion.
So I think the answer is we're not. Edwards Way was actually I believe that's the way behind the building, right? Along.
Yes, that's correct. That's next to the wall. Yes, next to the railroad.
Right. So part of that was actually already vacated, and part of it was not vacated. I think ultimately our plan would be to ask for the other piece of it to be vacated, and then to utilize that for fire truck access, that type of access around the building. But again, it's way too early for us to know with that. We have to figure out what that building wants to be.
Okay, all right. This is something that I know, like you said, too early. I'm just putting this in the back of your mind there, so you guys have something else to think about. So,
well, I appreciate that. Thank you. There's
right,
actually a
well, thanks.
gigantic sewer line that runs back there too.
Oh, wow. Oh, didn't know about that. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike Clark.
Yes, also wanted to ask about the other two parcels, part of the green space at the corner of Jane and 21st and the parking lot at Jane and 21st. Was that part of the Roche Taylor or is that a separate project?
Separate
Both of them.
project. Both of them are
Both of
separate projects.
Okay. I think the other comment that's worth making is when you speak about it being of right, that's one of the issues that we talked about as a community with UPMC prior to the sale. And it's a little, being UI, we all know it's not UI. It's never been UI. It hasn't been UI for 60, 80 years. So I think being more considerate to the residential neighbors in its application of the code there, I think would be something we were looking for when it comes to the zoning. So I'll just throw that out there now. We'll get back around to it, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
May I say something?
Yes, Charlene.
Yes, speaking. Jonathan, thank you for being at the meeting this evening. And I think it's so far it's been understandable. And I also don't live far, but it's going to be exciting to have something new there. But on behalf of all the residents, I think we're just a little cautious right now because of the demolition and what's going on. So thank you and continue meeting and keep us up to date. And I think everything will go well. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to say that I'm very appreciative of Barbara and Bruce and Bob for extending this opportunity to us. I know that everybody's time is valuable, but we just figured we should, now that we own it, we should keep the dialogue going, and hopefully that's going to make everything much easier for everybody. And we're excited about the project and excited about the south side, and think that there's some great opportunity here to become part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
I agree. And I thank Bruce, Barb, and Bob also because they've been with us a long time and we trust them. So thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Stephanie, you have your hand raised.
Hi, yes, this is Stephanie Garrison. I work at Brewhouse Arts in the Brewhouse building. Our building that we run with tract development has mixed income housing. And so there's a couple different levels there. I'm curious if you have any information about that apartment building in Roche Taylor and whether or not you will be employing any sort of like affordable housing options. I haven't been to these meetings before, and I'm sorry if this is a repeat question.
So it's not a repeat question, and the answer is I don't know yet as to what we're planning to do. I know that we're not going to be looking for any particular subsidies on the building. So, but I don't know the answer yet as to affordability. Right now, we're in the conceptual stage of laying out how the units can work. There are some peculiarities with that building. That parts of it just need a lot of thought. So I would say we'll get back to you with the answer to that question. Right now, we're trying to figure out unit mix, unit size, single loaded hallways, double loaded hallways, those types of things.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Cara?
By the way, I would say we're big fans of Trek.
Great. We're happy to be in meetings if you want to talk through how that's been going for us with the low income housing credits.
Well, that's good. I haven't talked to Mr. Gaddy since last week.
Okay, Cara, you had your hand raised.
Oh, actually, I was just clapping.
Okay.
But I want to reiterate, thank you for being so transparent and, coming to these meetings. We really appreciate it. And as someone on the board of the Southside Slopes Neighborhood Association, we'll look forward to working with you when you do your development activities meeting for the Josephine property.
Thank you.
So any other questions? Okay, thanks, Jonathan. We'll see you
Thank-
next month.
Yes, we'll see you. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a great holiday.
All right, thank you too.
Thank you.
Thomas.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Thomas Scharff. I'm the neighborhood planner for Southside Flats, Southside Slopes in the area south of Mon, west of the Ohio. So I'll jump right into updates on the Armstrong and Ormsby Park planning process that my colleague Marty Battistoni and I have been working on in coordination with the community and with Council District 3. So we're at this phase, we're kind of in the first of 3 phases of engagement. The parks planning process in general is looking at trying to understand where the community uses, where the kind of the types of uses of the park, where there's needs and desires related to improvements to the park and other changes, what's working well, what could be improved, and then also thinking about kind of translating that then into some concept, some conceptual plans that could be taken forward after this planning process into implementation. So we're in this initial phase of just gathering that preliminary feedback. And then the second phase we'll move into presenting conceptual plans, particularly looking at some different conceptual plan options for Ormsby Park, and then having a draft plan for Armstrong. We'll get feedback on that from the community, and then we'll move into a final round of engagement where we'll want to kind of check that what we heard was accurate and matches where the broader community goals and values are, and maybe also make any tweaks as needed, with the goal of aiming to have be able to submit for a budget request in around May or June of 2024, when that process gets kind of rolling. And so that's kind of the overview. We are looking at doing both planning for both projects in tandem, though the actual implementation might occur in more of a staged process. But this planning process itself is looking at both parks, and we're eager to hear from everybody on one or both that they have feedback on. One important update that's happened since we were last here was, or at least recently, was that we have a certain amount of money set aside for the consultant team, Pashak MTR, which is kind of supporting Marty and I in doing some of the design work around the conceptual planning of the parks. And so initially we were looking at having just part of that money dedicated to planning, and then part of it to kind of future engineering or installation of physical equipment, because of the kind of, we were hoping to stretch the money as far as we could take it, because of the conversations we've had with some of the community leaders around, particularly related to, for example, Ormsby Park and the potential scale of redesign that could be considered there, and wanting to meet those community needs and requests. We determined to go ahead and use all the budget for the consultant team for planning, and then would at subsequent dates need to work through the budget process for the engineering, and then for construction or installation. And so we knew there'd be future requests in any case for there would need to be probably budget requests or other funding sources in any case in the future after the plan. So but we felt like this could best, this was kind of the original, so use the full original amount that was budgeted anyway for planning, and would allow the fuller development of proposals. So those are some big things. We had an engagement with at Ormsby Park for the Halloween event on October 28th. So that had a really great time connecting with the families and many folks that attended, and saw some of you there. This coming Thursday, so 2 days from now, Marty will be at the Southside Neighbor Night. So she'll be seeking to gather some input from folks there. She's hoping to see if she can get lucky and get a breakout session going, and then also we'll be around the meeting for kind of gathering feedback from others that won't be at that specific breakout session. And then we are also interested in doing kind of a standalone meeting. We've heard that from community leaders, and so at this kind of phase one of gathering preliminary feedback, we could look at a meeting between about like just November 27th to into the first 2 or 3 weeks of December. But we wanted to, one question I have is I just wanted to check in on what, if there's any particular dates we should avoid when we're looking at that. I know what I have now is I have the holiday party for the slopes, as I understand. I know the planning forum next month, potential Southside Flats DAM next month, and then potentially a Southside neighbor night. But we wanted to find a date that doesn't conflict with other major community events, so we could have as big a turnout as possible. So I don't know if that kind of opened the floor up a little bit to just the folks in terms of if they specific dates we should avoid.
I don't have any particular dates, but I was going to request, if you're planning a meeting, if there was any way to have daycare available at the meeting, since it is focused on parks and playgrounds.
Thank you, Cara. It's a really great point. We are hoping to do that as much as possible as the resources allow, and so be eager to yeah, we may be able to look into kind of potentially a partnership on effort on that. We can follow up on.
Jacky, when's our Southside Community Council Christmas party?
The second Monday in December. It takes the place of our board meeting.
So I guess
December 11th, I believe.
Yeah, scratch that night as well as an option for the meeting, please.
Okay.
And December 6th at the Mingle. That's another date.
There's not going to be a neighbor night in December. We are substituting the Mingle for the neighbor night, so don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
So that's the second Tuesday of the month. So maybe December 12th would be the best day to do that if there won't be a neighbor night.
Now that would be 19th.
Or 19th, excuse me. Yeah.
It's the third Tuesday.
The third Tuesday.
So we've
Too
got
many things.
a lot of dates.
Yeah.
Okay, so second Monday of the month, December 11th, we'll cross that off. And then what was the other day that you were saying for the Mingle? That was
the 6th.
The 6th. Okay.
Yeah. Jacky is providing a good date. That Tuesday, December 19th. It's close to Christmas, but not real close to Christmas. And that would have been a neighbor night. That might be, if no one has an issue, that could very well be a good night.
Okay. Yeah, I can lead with that proposal, bring that back to our team. We'll just want to make sure we would love to have, if possible, like the consultant, make sure the consultants could be available, and Marty or I are both, but we'll try to aim for that. But if we'll take down the dates that don't work, so that in case we have to look at a plan B, we'll avoid any of those dates that were mentioned. So great. Well, thank you all. The other thing, we have a flyer that we're getting out there too, to encourage people to fill out the survey. So we have a survey that is live on the Engage platform. We've already gotten about 26 folks that have responded to it for the kind of the longer survey. We've also had some folks share about their favorite memories in the park, and about suggestions on groups for people to engage. So we've already started to compile some of that. There's definitely a number of opinions around kind of the uses of like the fields, for example, and then also related to what facilities need kind of most improvements, what's less used, and then where kind of some points too related to kind of the things like the physical buildings that are there as well, like the bathrooms and other elements. So we're continuing to get that feedback, and that will inform what goes into the draft conceptual plans. So I think those were kind of the main things. I'm still checking if there was. I'll put in the chat the link to the page, so you have that. Looks like Adrian has a question.
Yes.
I do. Thank you. So you said,
Yeah.
looking at the buildings and the parks too, is Ormsby Rec Center part of the rehab or renovations for Ormsby?
I think that's something that I couldn't give you an answer to yet. We want to kind of continue to gather feedback as to just how significant of changes are proposed. I know if that something like that were added into the scope, it could potentially add more timeline to implementation. But I can certainly, we can, is that an interest you have to have that renovated?
Oh, yes. I don't think the building has been renovated ever. If I'm correct, I think it's the last rec center to be renovated. There is no handicap access to a bathroom. If you have a stroller, you can't, take it down the steps. I don't know if you've been in there, but there's steps up and steps down. So ADA compliance doesn't really exist at all. And then, it's so bad. The signs in the basement, I think it even, there's signs about mayor, possibly even like Tom Murphy. I'm not even sure. It's so old, but yeah. So if that is possible, then I know a lot of people would be interested in that as well.
Okay.
So Adrian, we did put that rec center in for renovations this year into our capital budget requests. They weren't funded, but it is something we will continue to fight for funding for that rec center specifically. But unfortunately, it didn't. With no new capital projects, the mayor's administration did not fund that this year.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any updates? Speaking of, the rec center is currently closed due to needing repairs. Do we have any update on those?
All I have is that it's going to be 3 months for that boiler to be replaced. That's about all I know.
Yeah, thank you for all very good questions, and I think sorry.
I was just going to say they have moved some of the programming from Ormsby. If anybody needs that info, I know some of the staff there, and they moved it to like the Arlington Rec Center. So they are trying to do what they can. It's not ideal, but they are trying to shuffle us around.
I see. Mm-hmm. I know there was the recent car crash, right? That as well. So I understand there's a number of things going on there.
So are there any more questions for Thomas? He has to be on the road at shortly.
I think okay, thank you. Great. Thank you so much, Barbara. And the only other last thing, I'll send you, Barbara, the flyers, and Mike, and we'll send that to Mike. You're on here. I think Cara's on here. Folks have been kind of in the core group. We'll get that out. And then I just want to thank everyone for helping spread the word about the survey. Continue to get the word out with that. And then I think it sounds, my understanding is probably meeting format for the meeting that we're looking at in December would be in person is kind of what we're aiming for. I think unless there's any strong objections or people think that would be a challenge for folks.
I would think in person.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you all again, and appreciate your time, and looking forward to being in touch.
And thanks to those of you on the call that are part of this committee working with Thomas and Marty.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, Bruce, do you have any updates for us?
Barbara, very little, because much of what I would have covered has been covered. Just to go back to something that Allison offered up, we did have meetings with James at the Downtown Partnership, and the Clean team expressed that we were concerned about some of the services we were getting and not getting. They have given us a new team, and so far we've kept an eye on it, and I hope you'll agree with me, things do look better, but we'll continue to monitor that and make certain that what we're paying for is what we're getting. because we're putting out about 16 to 18,000 a month to have the clean team there, and want to make certain that, of course, we are getting the services we're contracting for. And then number two, the 18th Street Signal Project has come to conclusion. Finally, you see all signals are operational, all intersections are operational. There's a light at 18th and Josephine after about an 18 to 20-year process. Which I know has made many, many people happy. There are a couple things I think that are on a punch list to be redone. There's some of the concrete work, I think, in some of the intersections, which is lacking. State Representative Benham and I have talked about that. We'll continue to meet to make sure that if there are some punch list items that need to be redone, that PennDOT does indeed do them. And that should be it to finish up that 18th Street Signal project. But other than that, Barbara, I don't really have anything. I think everything else has been covered. Unless anybody may have a question for me, I'd be happy to take it.
Cara, you have your hand raised.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Cara.
Yeah, I just had a silly question and I don't know who to ask about it. So with the 18th Street signals, now that we can take a left on Josephine, who tells Google Maps?
You know what? I believe that is the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. But Bob, will you please remind me, and let's make sure that we are indeed corrected on Google Maps. Do you know?
Yeah. It's so that is correcting Google Maps has always been a challenge for us, but it is kind of crowdsourced on Google. I haven't plugged that in for a while. But I believe that we all can say that you can we can add something to Google Maps or make a discrepancy. And I think that's something that we should probably do. I'll need to research that a little bit. Kinsey Casey was really helpful, but I'm not sure who we can turn to now.
Let's complement that. I agree. People, if they'll put in, as you said, crowdsource that you can indeed turn there. Let's complement that with a confirmation from a director. Okay. Thanks, Cara. That was a good question.
Any other questions for Bruce?
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay. If there are none, we'll move into the development activity meeting reports. Jacky?
Sure. Sorry. I have 10 screens going on. Can you come back to me until I flip over real quick? I'm multitasking. I'm not lying.
Cara? If you can share if the Slopes had development activity meeting.
Yeah, we did not have one in October, but we are hosting one next week. November 21st at 6 p.m. and it's for a property at 2501 Arlington Ave that's trying to change to a duplex.
Okay. Okay, Jacky, did she give you enough time?
Yeah, so thank you. We do have one development activities meeting this month for November. It will be this Thursday, the 16th at 6 p.m. It is 805 East Carson Street. They will be going to the Historic Review Commission for a facade renovation that was completed without a permit. So we'll be reviewing one project.
Okay. All right, then let's go to our representative reports. Jessica Benham, you're on the call.
I am here. We are in Harrisburg this week. We're finishing some stuff up on the budget, making a lot of progress, particularly on some education-related bills this week, which I'm excited about. We've been trying to finalize an education code for a while, and while we're not quite there yet, we do expect some kind of interim legislation that makes some small changes to move forward, which I am very happy about because that is some much needed improvements there. We are beginning in the process of planning our events for next year. Certainly expect that we'll have another senior fair. We'll have some more shredding events. If folks have an event suggestion for us, you know where to find us. We're always open to new ideas. The other reminder for folks is just to make sure that you either get your rent or property tax rebate in, or remind the older adults in your life to do so before the end of the year. I just came from the floor literally like 10 minutes before hopping on this call. We passed a piece of legislation that I think ultimately, if it were to make it through the Senate, would have an impact on Southside. It's a bill that finally acknowledges that when the state approves a bunch of liquor licenses in a concentrated area, that can cause public safety impacts, while still recognizing the significant economic impact of those nighttime economy businesses. I'll put the press release about it in the chat. We want folks to be able to have fun in those spaces. We want those spaces to exist, but we want them to be safe. And this is a grant program that would provide some support from the state level to our local municipalities, who so often are kind of caught holding the bag on those public safety issues that we have created or facilitated or failed to solve on the state level. So I'll drop the press release in the chat. It's a link with those details, but I am excited to see that move forward. It was definitely not an easy lift, and I think if it did make it to the Senate, which I will continue to work on, it would provide some really helpful support to municipalities like Pittsburgh, if the city were to choose to apply in areas like East Carson Street, because we know that those costs really hit municipalities hard. So if folks have any questions for me, I am all ears.
Okay, it doesn't seem as if there are any questions, and I don't think anyone from State Rep Arian Abney's office is here, nor Jay Costa, but we do have a representative from U.S. Congresswoman Summer Lee. So I would like to introduce Tyrell Best Savage, and I'm not sure if you would just like to introduce yourself, and if you have anything to share, this would be the time.
Yes, thank you, Barbara, for the introduction. Good evening, everybody. Apologies that I can't be on camera. I'm actually sitting in the car in dark parking lot, probably walking to another meeting. But I did want to share a couple of stats from our office, and also make you guys aware of where we are opened up. We are in East Liberty at 211 North Whitfield Street. That's 15206 zip code. And we've been open now since March, and assisting and helping our constituents. And I just wanted to share some district stats from our office since opening up. We have now serviced over 1,380 constituent cases in the district, 1,388 to be exact. We also have solved now over 1,030 recently resolved cases. We have 1,035 to be exact. And then actively, we are assisting now 371 constituents within the district with federal issues. We utilize the most out of the federal agencies we use for, the Department of State being number one. That's the passport agencies and visas. Second would be IRS, which is Internal Revenue Service. Third would be Social Security. And then fourth would be USCIS. Lastly, we've now returned close to $2.8 million to constituents, nearly $2.3 million from the Internal Revenue Service, and roughly $500,000 from the Social Security Agency. So if you have any issues with any of those two federal agencies, please reach out to our office. We're here to assist you. And again, if you have any issues, any federal issues, of course, with like Small Business Administration to the Federal Trade Commission, please reach out to our office. We're here to assist you. And I do want to leave in the chat just my personal contact information. That's gonna be my phone number as well as my email address if anybody wants to contact me about a personal issue offline, as well as a link to our website. And again, if you guys have any questions, I am here. I look forward to coming to future meetings and working with you guys in the future. I'll pass it back to you, Barbara.
Thank you, and hope that you're finding the meeting informative. So I don't know if there are any questions for Tyrell. And if not, we'll go to organization reports. Jacky, do you want to start with Southside Community Council?
Sure. Not much to report other than I did take over as president of the Southside Community Council. Barb has stepped down as president. So for those of you that don't know, we had some organizational change on our end. And so that's probably the biggest news that we have currently, as well as all the work that our committees are doing on a regular basis.
New board members as well.
Oh, yes, and that's right. And we have 6 new board members, and I think I see some of them on the call tonight. So that's great to see them participating in the planning forum as well, which brings our board head count to 17.
Okay, Cara, do you have anything to share with this related to the Slopes Association?
Just like I said, we are having a development activities meeting next week, and we have also scheduled our holiday party, which will be back at the Zenith on Thursday, December 7th. Everyone who likes the slopes is invited to come. So, and you can register for that on our website. But yeah, otherwise, that's all that's going on the slopes right now.
Okay, chamber, I'm not sure if anyone is here from the chamber. So we'll move into Lynn Curhan. Do you have anything to share?
No updates.
Okay. Thanks for your help with, parking at around 24th Street. So hopefully some of that is worked out.
I hope so, but if not, please send me another email.
Okay, will do.
Thanks.
Pastor Dora, do you have anything that you would like to share? You're on mute.
My question is, do I have vote as well as voice?
When you say vote, are you talking?
Sometimes you ask whether everyone is in favor or.
That was for the minutes.
Oh, okay.
I believe so. I think that's the only time we would be voting on anything.
Oh, all right. Okay. But I also would remind when you're planning nights not to have the meeting that we are talking about with Thomas. The 14th of December is my open mic night. That doesn't involve a whole lot of people, but it is an event that we want people to attend. So I would ask you not to have a meeting on the 14th of December.
Okay, thank you.
That's it then. Thank you.
All right, we have the Southside Community Action Network with us. Anything to share? I know Neighbor Night is coming up on Thursday.
Not on as well, I think. Neighbor Night is coming up on Thursday. We have about 50 people registered so far, but we'll probably get another 10 to 20 between now and Wednesday. This one, we now have Zone 3 participation, which is great. And we have Thomas will be joining for the parks. We have Vellum Vermont Tree Distillery joining as well to talk about the holiday market that they are planning for the community on the 25th. And did I miss? And also Amber Lynch will be there for the mingle, holiday mingle. So we have some nice representation for other groups within the community on the on Thursday.
Well, best of luck. There are a lot of things going on Thursday, November 16th. So best wishes to everyone. We have a new group joining us, and we're really very, very happy to see them here, Southside Hospitality Partnership. And we have Jonathan and Demaro and Chris Furman with us. I think you are the two representatives. John or Chris, would you like to share what your organization is about and some of your successes to date?
Yeah, Barb, I'll start off and then I'll kind of punt it over to Chris to give an update on our last meeting. I want to thank you for, I talked to Barb last night and she gave me some information on the planning forum and how important it is for community organizations to be able to pass along information between each other. So I hope this can function similarly for the business community with the organizations that are currently involved with the planning forum to kind of pass along accurate information and be able to connect. I have to give Southside CAN a lot of credit. Don Berman, who's on the Zoom call, the Southside Hospitality Partnership started through Southside CAN. I was part of a subcommittee with Don Berman focusing on some of the issues we were having on East Carson Street, and he recommended to me, well, can we get some of the bar and restaurant owners together? And I said, sure, Don, we can do that. Since then, it's materialized into about 13 different bars and restaurants. Initially, we're meeting bi-weekly. So it was, you could tell that people really wanted to be engaged and cared about solving issues that they were seeing as business operators. The majority of them are from 10th to 17th Street. And we're always looking to include more and other business owners who would like to be involved. Primarily, when we first started, we were focused on the public safety component of East Carson Street and some of the issues that we were having. We met with some of the people on this call, Bruce and you, Barb. I think you were at that initial meeting with Chief Scarrato, and we lobbied for more patrols on East Carson Street, and that kind of facilitated the entertainment patrol that exists now. So a dedicated unit of officers that are on the street Thursday through Sunday evening. We've continued to meet on a monthly basis, and a lot of the stuff that we've accomplished, I think, is going to be in this report. And the functionality of this is I'll be on these calls to give updates. Chris Furman has also volunteered, and so has Jimmy Hoffman. So it'll either be myself, or one of them, or a combination of us both, to make sure that we're ongoing participants in the community, so to speak. So I think we can get a little bit more information of some of the accomplishments and things that we've done. I'm going to pass it to Chris to give our latest update. Chris, if you want to take it from here.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, John. And thanks, Barb, for having us. Just to piggyback off John, some of the things that we've been able to accomplish so far is SHIP has published a code of conduct for alcohol establishments, as well as visitors to the South Side, and further implemented a common scanner program for ID scans, so that if a patron breaks this code of conduct, they're banned from that establishment and also the other member establishments that are on the scanner system. As John said, we've been meeting with Entertainment Patrol monthly to work with public safety officials, and I'm extremely happy to say that right now we have 11 officers plus a sergeant, as John said, Thursday through Sunday, and 2 officers that are overseeing cameras on the Carson Street corridor, and it's helped tremendously. 7 bars are currently on the scanner system. The rest are working towards joining as well. And additionally, we've also implemented a web form, which I'll put the link in the comments, where residents in the area can access and inform the hospitality partnership of any issues that they have with member establishments. We monitor that, and efforts will be made to resolve the community issues in a timely manner. And again, I'll put the link to that form as well as the Southside Hospitality Partnership website in the comments. Lastly, as of recent, Southside Hospitality Partnership began a steering committee to focus on marketing of East Carson Street as a sustainable nighttime economy. The first meeting was October 10th, and we'll have more information and a plan moving forward really soon. The primary focus of this committee is to develop a cause and brand promoting safety and vibrancy on East Carson Street, which will be funded through the Hospitality Partnership and its partners. And then we are working towards right now a holiday toy drive. It's going to be the Carson Street Toy Drive, which will benefit the Marines Toys for Tots, and our members as well as other retail establishments will be included in this from Thanksgiving through mid-December. So we're excited about that as well.
And just a couple of things. Thanks, Chris. A couple of things to add to that. Another thing that we've established is a common scanning system. I mean, not the common scanning system, the security channel. Sorry, excuse me. So essentially, when we first, encountered some of the issues that we were having on the street, Don created and shared an app with some of the active bar members. There's 13 currently active bar members, so I think that's important information as well. Typically, participation is anywhere from like 6 to 10 establishments that show up to the in-person meetings, and it rotates, and everyone has some level of participation. But the security channel functions as if there's anything that we see, and Zone 3 is on this as well. And I think some of the other people in this Zoom meeting too, if we see anything happening on the street, we kind of detail that activity. So it's been helpful for us to really communicate and see exactly what the pulse is of the street. I think that's everything. I mean, and additionally, I mean, we'll bring up as well within those meetings if there's any. So self-accountability is a part of this organization as well. So if there's any events or any things that are happening on the street that may be concerning, and that's, we're self-reflective in that sense. It's built into the agenda of each meeting. We'll bring those up. We've actually canceled an event, which is something that has not happened on East Carson Street probably since the beginning of time. So we were effective in that regard, which I think people here would be happy to hear that development. Training, we're focusing on training as well. So trying to work with Allison to schedule some training sessions, whether it's door training, security training, some trainings that the city has already offered. So really improve the ability of the business owners and their knowledge within the field that they operate. So that's a focus of ours. So it's comprehensive, so we're not focusing on one or two things. We're really just trying to focus on a bunch of things at once.
Yeah, thank you, John and Chris. Dawn, I think you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. I just want to applaud the work that SHIP's been doing. I think that, it all kind of came to a head on Halloween, where we had 21 police officers on East Carson Street. We haven't seen anything like that. I mean, not as long as I've been here. I'm sure you guys have more tenure, but including having some undercover officers that were actually monitoring the city cameras. I want to really give a shout out to our new commander, Jeffrey Abraham, who has really stepped up in a big way. SHIP is just kind of where you really see it happening, where Bob participates and Allison as well. Community participates, the bar owners, public safety, all sitting in the same room, working together. I think that really is, really starting to pay some big dividends.
Yeah. Before I go to Stephanie, I do want to say this is such a good example of the asset-based community development model. We have assets in the community, and we've always had those assets in the community, but they needed support, I would say, to understand that they were assets and were resources among themselves to make things happen. And I want to acknowledge Dawn and Ro and others who were instrumental, in Jacky, in working on the ESSA-based community development model. And then, of course, as John said, the work that Dawn has been doing with SHIP. And John, you have to be commended for stepping up and taking the lead, and then bringing in the other, bar owners and who are coming to meetings because they find it to be helpful, and then they're seeing the fruits of their labor on weekends when you see the police and just the support that's being provided. So I think it's a good story for Southside. So again, thanks to all of you. Stephanie?
Yeah, just quickly, is there a boundary for the Southside Hospitality Partnership, or is it specifically around East Carson Street? And you said the majority of them are between 10th and 17th, but like how far would you be accepting of members?
I think it's, anyone in the South Side would be accepted. I think naturally, just because of where we were having issues on East Carson Street, the people that were concerned primarily was in that area. But Southside's reputation is defined by everyone and anyone. So anyone is invited.
Great, thank you.
So I think, we've come to the end of the meeting. Does anyone have any questions for anyone? And if not, then the meeting is adjourned, and the next planning forum meeting is December 12th at 5:30. So thanks to all of you who were able to stay on the call. And thanks to everyone for the work that's being done to benefit Southside. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Bye.